Hey, hi, and hello, my friends. My name is Kari, and if you're new around here, hello. Nice to finally meet you. And if you're not new around here, welcome back. Avatar: The Last Airbender movie lacks everything that the original series was, and if it was curated, thought about, used the source material that it directly has, I feel like the movie could have been really good. And I'll get into why. So let's talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, the movie. So I'm going to try and recall what I remember from memory. I haven't watched the original series. I do plan on doing so because it's getting really popular on Netflix. So I will be revisiting that. But I didn't want to go into watching this movie with like a clouded mindset like I did when I was younger. I can vividly remember being so upset from this movie. I vividly remember watching it and being so upset because it was just so awful and nothing like the original movie. So I didn't want to put myself through that again, so I just started off with the movie. So we're gonna recount the movie and the show as I remember it. So without any kind of influence or anything like that. So we start off with Katara practicing waterbending. Beside her is her brother Sokka. We see Sokka breaking the ice that Aang has encapsulated himself in and has frozen over. Katara ends it off by breaking the ice, and we see Aang emerge, burst out of the ice pocket, and we are introduced to our three main characters. Sokka and Katara decide to take this child with them to their village where none other than the Water Tribe resides. They take him to their village where the Fire Nation invades, looking for the eldest individuals that reside there in hopes of what I'm assuming to be the Avatar, is who they're looking for. We see Zuko find the Avatar. We don't know their name yet. We don't know who. I'll refer to them as a child because we don't know who they are at the moment, but we can only assume. Anyways, we see Zuko take the child with them, assuming to be who they were looking for, and here's where I kind of get a little confused. At first, I didn't know this was Zuko. Like, I had no idea because he's he's a little he's a little dark. He's he I didn't know it was Zuko. So surprise, Zuko. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love me some diversity. I love seeing it in every aspect of everyday TV. As you can see, I love seeing diversity. But it just shocked me because in the original series, there is that diversity. You very well could have casted Asian cast members. You could have cast individuals who looked more so like the characters that they are going to play. Now, it's it's completely fine not to, but in the Avatar, which is such a loved series, you want to make it to where there's no problems where the beloved cast would find an issue with it. And I did. Where is the Inuit, Chinese, Japanese, um, Tibet culture? Where is that? I see none of it. Like, this is your director, and you're convincing me that we missed the mark. Katara and Zuko go to rescue Aang, and he successfully escapes from Zuko. Katara and Zuko manage to successfully rescue Aang as he escapes the Fire Nation, Fire Tribe. I'm going to use those interchangeably. Anyways, he successfully escapes the Fire Nation's grasp. Once they escape, they go back to Aang's village, where we learn that the Fire Nation has destroyed and started a giant war, starting off by killing all of the airbenders within the village that Aang used to reside in. This creates an internal conflict for Aang. This messes up him mentally as he begins to blame himself for what has happened. He blames himself for what is happening. They find themselves in the woods, and an earthbending child, we never know the child's name, so we'll just call them earthbending child, is being chased by Fire Nation soldiers, I assume to be. The earthbending child is being chased by Fire Nation soldiers because they learned that the child is an earthbender and was bending rocks and throwing them at them, which results in them wanting to imprison the child. And so the child must be arrested.
What is this?
Stay hidden.
That child is being arrested.
For what?
He was bending tiny stones at us from behind a tree. It really hurt.
He can bend earth?
Earthbending is forbidden in this village.
Katara tries to miserably save them all by bending water, but only manages to trap her brother and get them all arrested. So, yay! She saved the day. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Whew. This is a prominent theme within the movie. So, getting captured and escaping and getting captured once again to only escape is a prominent theme within the movie that we see a lot. And I'll get into all of that as to why this is a prominent theme and why it was necessary. I'll get into all that after the movie analysis. So, buckle up and stay with me. Aang gives the Earthbenders a pep talk in hopes of getting them out of their spirits and taking back their land from which the Fire Nation has taken from them. He gives them a big pep talk about there's earth underneath you and that there's earth everywhere and why are they acting like this and cowering in fear and they should keep it together, Kari. Keep it together. And gives them a really big pep talk about how they should stop acting like this and how they could just fight back because there's earth underneath them. In his speech, he explains that if the Avatar came back, how would they react or what would they do? And they were like, the Avatar is dead, X, Y, and Z. And he's like, well, I am Aang. Well, he says, I am Aang, the Avatar. That one hurt. That one very much hurt to say. I don't know if you guys noticed, but that hurt. And it worked. Everyone gets together in defeating the Fire Nation and taking back their land. Whew. This is the part where the CGI really fucked me up. I don't know if I should swear in this series. Should I swear? If I edit that out or not, you guys will know. Technical difficulties. CGI sucks. It's fucking awful. It takes 4 Earthbenders and a bunch of just grunting and moving and this. It takes a bunch of this to move this tiny, minuscule rock. And this is... It was fun. It's... not the movie's not supposed to be comical, I don't think. But that part really... It really made me laugh. In the original series, yes, it was comical. And the characters were just hilarious. But this... I don't think this was supposed to be funny, but I found it just amusing. Like, no wonder you guys are being held hostage. You can't even move a rock. Oh, we'll let it go. We'll let it go. We're gonna be like Elsa and we're gonna let it go. Yep. Mm-hmm. Anyways, they defeat the Fire Nation, and Aang, Sokka, and Katana agree to help the other villages. Sokka admits that there are other villagers similar who are taken over by the Fire Nation soldiers, and that they should help them. And the 3 of them agree to start helping the other villages. The 3 of them agree to help the other villages. I don't know why that was so hard. In the process, Aang begins to connect with the dragon spirit for guidance.
The Fire Nation has stolen knowledge of us from the Great Library. They are planning to misuse this knowledge.
I will stop them.
You must go to the Northern Water Tribe. If they take that city, more will suffer and die as your airbenders have. You must go now.
Who I stop them?
Wake up, young man.
At some point, they realize that Aang hasn't finished his avatar training and he can only bend air, which means that they must unlock the other elements and they must help Aang train in order to unlock the other elements in hopes of defeating the Fire Nation. The Dragon Spirit tells Aang that ooh, I said Aang. I've been watching that movie too many times. I watched that movie too many times and I feel like it's rubbing off on me and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. They made me say Aang. No. Mm-mm. The Dragon Spirit tells Aang that he must go to the Northern Water Tribe in order for them to train him so he can successfully master water in hopes of kickstarting his journey to finish each element within the order that it recurs. In the series, once an avatar passes, another is born within the next cycle of elements within the orders of Aang's situation, since he's an airbender: air, water, fire, earth. Oh, no. Sorry. So he must complete it in order of the elements, which in his case, since he's an airbender, is going to be air, water, earth, and fire. There we go. But thought it was over? It's not over. Nay. Zuko is still on the run, and Zuko is still out to get him, so they have to watch out. He wants Aang for himself in order to impress his father, who I thought I had daddy issues. This puts my whole entire thought process down the drain. Like, I feel lucky. Travel to the Northern Water Tribe and they begin training. They fully understand that the Fire Kingdom is going to be coming after them because they know that the Avatar's journey is there and they're kind of getting on top of it. So they must train and also train Aang and also prepare for the Fire Nation to attack.
Now use offense on.
Aang, from what we see, is successfully developing his water bending skills, very nicely. And we see that he's kind of getting into the groove of it, but that internal conflict is stopping him from successfully progressing. And every time he gets close to it, I can only assume that his internal conflict is stopping him. The Fire Nation eventually gets there, and it's time for them to prepare. So they want to first eliminate as much fire within their kingdom as possible, so it kind of stops the Fire Nation from being able to use their bending elements and also giving them a leverage over them. Aang lets everyone know that he must go to the Dragon Spirit in order to get further guidance in essentially destroying the Fire Nation, and they have just the perfect place. Within the Northern Water Tribe, they are built around a sacred temple that holds the Moon Spirit. Now, we aren't given much information about the Moon Spirit or of Yu's connection with the Moon Spirit and her being a Moon Spirit. We're only informed kind of like bits and pieces of it, about her backstory and how she... My arms look so skinny. Her backstory and how she got to becoming who she is, and how her hair got gray and her somewhat form of connection to the Moon Spirit, but we're never indulgent or get the information that she is in some form the Moon Spirit. So that kind of upset me a little bit too. But they bring Aang to the Moon Spirit's temple, I'm assuming what it is, and allows him to meditate. Yu has to go back to help her people, and Sokka has accepted the job of keeping her safe so he has to go with her. Katara admits that she will be staying with Aang. In the process, none other than Zuko is there to stop Aang and kind of kidnapped him, but he didn't account for Katara being there or being a badass waterbender. She's gotten progressively good compared to the beginning, but it still isn't good enough, and he eventually brings her down and kidnaps Aang. In that process, Aang still, for some reason, hasn't connected with the dragon spirit. Like, we kind of get a hint that he has from what is being said around him. Like, we see in the process that he can hear what's going on around him. And as we see him, like, progressing, we see him listening to Katara. But that part is long gone. So, it didn't make any sense, but I can only assume that he has already been in that stage of the spirit realm, and he's already gotten there. Um, which that's another thing to debunk and talk about, but I'll save that for my rant. But he does get to talking to the dragon spirit, and the dragon spirit confesses that he must let go of all of that internal conflict in order to, one, rightfully take his place as the avatar and to help the people. And the avatar must not hurt people. And I guess that motivates Aang, and that gives him the spirit that he needs to go out and fight.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I knew you were real. I always knew you returned. Hello? Hello? Please, tell me how to beat the Fire Nation.
You are not dealing with the loss of your people and your responsibility for their deaths. You are stopping yourself from grieving. You are angry. You must let this go. As the Avatar, you are not meant to hurt others. Use the ocean. Show them the power of water. Go. Do this now.
My sister Azula was always a special.
Katara saves Aang from Zuko, and he sets him free, and Aang is getting into the process of kind of accepting how things are and taking a real role as the Avatar, and lets Zuko know that they can be friends, in quote-unquote those exact words.
You won't be killed by waterbenders if you stay hidden here. We can be friends, you know.
And it's kind of getting him in that mindset that he needs to be in order to successfully stop the Fire Nation. Princess Yu, Katara, and Zuko go after Zhao and Ira. I'm not even going to try and pronounce these names, but I watched this movie so many times. I should know their names. But I'm not taking any name references from this movie because, as we can see, they're not saying names properly. They're not saying names correctly. And my childhood brain does not remember these names, so... Anyways. Anyways, those three have to stop Zhao and Ira, Uncle, and Commander, I'm assuming. If I can remember correctly. But Zhao plans to kill the moon spirit, but this is a big no-no. This is going to completely unbalance everything, and it cannot happen. And Ira is letting Zhao know this, but Zhao doesn't care. He's just like, this must happen, and we will be powerful. And Zhao eventually gets to the sacred temple and completely and utterly, cold-heartedly kills the koi fish that is the spirit of the moon spirit. Now, I know you guys know that the moon and the sun have a special place in my heart, almost yin and yang. It has a special place in my heart. So this hurt me a lot more than it did as a kid. But it hurt nonetheless. Anyways, the dragon spirit warned of a red moon, which did occur once the moon spirit has fallen, and you and Aang can kind of feel like the release or like the death of this spirit because Yo is a moon spirit. She has ties with the moon spirit, and inevitably making her the moon spirit. Inevitably, and I'm not sure why Aang has that connection, but a good point is made within this movie that why do the spirits tie themselves to such useless, such defenseless beings, and it makes it a good point. Ira eventually explains it like to humble humans in X, Y, and Z, but it kind of the original show gets more in depth with it, but I was kind of hoping that they would do something similar with them in the movie, other than just like showing instead of telling, telling instead of showing. I'm sorry, which is a big conflict within this movie, which we'll get at the end. But he makes a good point that why do these powerful spirits tie themselves with such useless and such defenseless beings? It's a good point. We discover that it's a big no-no, and Ira begins to be able to firebend with seemingly thin air, which is like, oh, dangerous. Oh no. And everyone's panicked. Like even the Fire Nation tribe is like, oh no, he's bending out of thin air. And it's like this big issue, which yes, but isn't he your own people? Isn't he a firebender? I don't think you should I don't think you anyways, Ira explains to you of a destiny that everyone is born into, and she explains that her destiny is to restore the life of the moon spirit by inevitably giving up her being and her connection with the moon spirit into what I can remember from the original series is giving her giving up her physical being into sharing a singular being inevitably once she gives up her spirit and she loses her physical body to join a singular spirit with the moon spirit essentially, and they will be one being. But it's not really elaborated on there. It's just like, here, this is something that happens, there you go. So I wish it was more elaborated on. It would have I'll save the rants for later, but I wish they would have elaborated a little more on that. Anyways, she sacrifices herself for the moon spirit as they share a singular being, and she inevitably dies. Sokka's connection with you, and their relationship is um, played upon in the movie, and we see him being very sad and that she must pass away. Aang finally shows the true power of the water element, and he begins to push out the Fire Nation, Fire Kingdom, whichever one. They're interchangeable, I guess, to me. He pushes them out by using water, and he scares them off, and he shows the true power, which is immense power. If the Earth Kingdom struggles to do this, I'm pretty sure this is just chef's kiss. This is just chef's kiss at this point. But he shows the true power of the water element and scares off the majority of the Fire Kingdom. He is greeted by the remainder of the Fire tribe, as well as the Water tribe, kneeling down to him, essentially paying homage to the time where he first was being knelt to and accepting his role as the Avatar. But this time he does accept and kneel back to them. And as Katara explained that they needed him and that they wanted him to be the Avatar, and he fearfully accepts, which we can see visibly in his appearance and his features. He visibly, fearfully accepts the role, but nonetheless starts the beginning of him becoming the true Avatar. We finally see Ozai telling his daughter Azula that she must stop, or temporarily, I guess, halt the Avatar's progress in learning the last two elements that he needs in order to complete his training, up until they can get the Sozin comet to pass by, which will give the Fire Nation immense power, and allow them to finally win the war that they have caused and being the most powerful. And that, my friends, is the end of the movie. Now let's get into ranting because there's a lot there. Now, time to rant. I will be reading majority of it from my script because, as you guys know, I suck at off the dome thinking without sounding stupid. So, I'm going to be trying to read from the script and then elaborating on what I'm saying. So, just to preference, if I'm looking like here and then back up, that's what I'm doing. This movie could have been amazing, but it just really sucked. And here's why. It lacks everything that the original Avatar The Last Airbender series was. M. Night took creative freedom to a completely different level with this one. And I'm going to break them down into key points. Ethnic diversity. The original show had just that, so what was the point in changing it? We're missing the mark with the Inuit, the Chinese, Japanese, the Tibet culture within the original series, and we're missing just that. And we don't get that sort of representation within the movie, which is what prominently makes this movie so controversial, which it was so unnecessary to change with a budget like, I'll get into the budget later, but with a budget like that, you would think that they would have the decency to cast these other individuals. There's so much diversity within the acting industry where you could have had individuals who would play an immense role in acting. I'd say a little bit, if not even better than the acting within this movie. It was completely unnecessary. Storytelling was just bad awful. The movie does more telling than showing, which is a really big problem. Like, I felt like the characters were more so telling me what was going on and what was happening within the story, more so than showing. And with the little things that was shown, it was so amazing, and it brought you into this fictional world that the original did so amazing. And within the live action, the things that were shown and not told, it brought you into this world just a little bit more. So if they would have calmed down on the telling and not showing, it would have brought this to another level and would have made this movie a little bit better. It wouldn't have made it awful. And I understand why it did more telling than showing, which I'll get into later with time. But it just missed the mark. If there was more show and not tell, it would have been amazing. Having the characters explain to you what's supposed to happen and what's going on completely ruins the intent of the plot itself if it's done too much. So, showing not telling is very important. The acting was just awful. I feel like the acting was more or so intended to be more comical in some areas than, and I don't know what it was trying to do. I guess I felt no other emotion than drama. Like, I felt like I was watching a musical or like a theatrical interpretation, like almost like a musical on Broadway or something like that. Like, the emotions were over dramatized and everything was so forced. Like, the characters' actions felt so forced, the relationships felt so forced, the things that they were saying felt so forced, and it lost the acting for me. Like, I didn't believe that the characters were who they said they were supposed to be. And this is off of like a mindset of not even remembering most of the show. Like, I remember a great portion of it, but it's so clouded in my memories. But I just did not believe that these were the characters that I grew up with. Like, it didn't give me that. And that's essentially why I say that the acting was bad. Also, why did they change the characters' names? Like, of course, the most prominent one is Aang, where they translated it or changed it to Ang, which was so unnecessary. Like, at some point, they even changed the word yin, like, no, word yang, to yang. Like, yin and yang, like, they had to go to a certain extent in order to change things for no particular reason at all. Like, you have the source material in your hand. This is your source material. Why not utilize that and use it to your fullest extent? I feel like they just got the script and just went off of the script none alone. Like, I feel like M. Night didn't do any research and didn't watch the Avatar movie, and it just felt like it was just solely done using the script, and that could be the only explanation as to mispronouncing these details. But you would have to go to a certain extent to mispronounce the word yang. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Missing elements and time. Now, here's what I understand. I completely understand that you need to fit a select amount of information from the original series into a 1 hour and 44-minute movie, which I completely understand. And this is kind of why I'm more so feeling empathetic about how the movie turned out, simply because you have to cram so much information from such a popular and such a widespread show and series into a short amount of time, which I completely understand. But there are certain elements that you included within the movie that you could have elaborated on, while also leaving out some of that shitty ass CGI and some of the bad acting and some of the bad cutscenes. You could have left some of that out and left room for the more important details, such as elaborating on chi. They mentioned chi and they brought it up just a little bit, but chi is so important to the series, the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Chi is an essential part into bending itself, and it gives it real life, and it ties it into our real world, and it allows us to understand it a little bit more. But they never elaborate on it. They just like, this is chi, it exists, use it, and they never elaborate on there any they don't go further into what chi is. Also, the spirits, they discuss the spirits and they explain X, Y, and Z, but they never explain the spirit's importance, and they never go further as what the spirit realm is and why these beings are so tied to harmony, and why they're so tied to balance, and why the spirits in the spirit realm restore and maintain balance. They never go into it. They just explain like, this is what it is and this is its use, but they never go about it. Like, there was a scene where Sokka and Katara's grandmother was explaining like, this is the spirit realm and I think it's important, and Aang is going to be the person that's going to be our connection. She could have elaborated, and they could have asked her questions like, why is it so important to restore balance? And she could have given, again, it's telling more so showing, but they could have, if you're going to tell and not show, go with it, because you're missing information that you don't need to be missing. And that's why I feel as though things are, it felt almost rushed, as if they didn't use their source material, like they didn't watch the series itself, which is important if you're going to remake a really popular series like this. Budget. The budget was $150 million, and the movie earned $319 million worldwide. You could have given us a little more information and left out some of that shitty CGI and left some of that shitty acting and some of the shitty cut shots. You could have left that out and filling us into the more important information. Like, my theory is that they made this movie an intent to not only satisfy the audience that loved this beloved show, but to also introduce people who have never seen this movie before and giving them the information that's needed in order to understand what's going on, which completely understand. But the main problem with these live action movies is that once you try and do that, you lose all of the importance that the original series gave off, and you lose a lot of that once you try and satisfy a wider audience. Like, yes, it's okay to try and be inclusive to people who have not seen the series, but you have to make sure that you're keeping everything accurate, because you want to make sure that you're doing this movie justice, but also giving people the things that they need in order to go, I like this movie, I want to watch the series. Watching this movie left me clueless, and if I watch the series, which I know I will be, it would fill so many plot holes, and you'd go back to that movie and be like, what the fuck were they thinking? Like, you don't want that to happen. You don't want someone to watch the movie, then go to the series, and go back to the movie and just fucking hate it after they've realized that this was shitty. I love the Avatar series, which is why I had such a hard time with this movie. But this is killing me. But if you look at this movie beyond the original series and just enjoy the movie for what it simply is, which is a film, you begin to enjoy it. Like, it got easier to watch after I forgot that I fucking hated the movie. And after forgetting about the original series and how awful it represented the original, I began to enjoy the movie, and I began to laugh at the the shitty antics that the characters got into, and I began to get involved, and I I began to connect with the characters to a certain extent. That's hard to say, man. I wanted to hate this movie so bad, and I do. I hate the movie. But looking at it beyond the original series and looking at it beyond how awful of a representation it is, it's not awful. A movie on its own, without knowing what the Avatar is, which is the whole point, which is why it is where it is, which is why it is, in my mind, where it is. You can't look at this movie without understanding the original, which is hard. But if you can look past it, if you've never seen the Avatar before, the movie is shitty nonetheless, but manageable to a certain extent. The ending insinuates a second part, which is kind of where I feel like some of the information is missing, and I feel like they just assumed that it would be widely received and that they would, which it kind of was, like 150 million budget and earning 319 worldwide. I'd say that was decently received. The reviews, but earnings, yeah, I'd say it was decently received, even though the ratings were just awful, especially in the US. I've heard M. Night explain, like, in other places like Asia, Japan, those places are like, yeah, we love this, and then you get here and it's like fucking awful. And I don't I don't know how to feel about it. I hate the movie. I don't like it. It ruined my childhood for me. But looking beyond everything that I know, you can somewhat enjoy the movie. If they would have stuck to the direct source material that they had and not stored so far away, this movie would have been amazing. This movie would have been a hit. Everyone that loved the original series would have loved it if it would have just stayed with the original source material that it had. But since it did not, and since we are looking at this movie as an adaptation, as a source from the original, this movie is going to stay where it is, which we are going to give this movie 2 out of 5 lunar sun moons. I think I'm pretty satisfied with that rating. As sad as it is, yeah, 2 out of 5 lunar sun moons and a thumbs down on Netflix. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Did you like the original movie? Did you like the movie? Also, let me know if you've watched the Avatar: The Last Airbender, the series. If you have, watch the movie and let me know your thoughts. I want to see someone's understanding of the movie first and then going to the series. I kind of want to see how that correlates. Like, most of the awful ratings are from people who've watched the original series and then gone to the movie. I want to see the opposite. How would that come out? I'm curious. Let me know down in the comments below. Yeah, let me know. That would be so interesting because I feel like, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below if you love the series or not, because yeah, if you have watched the original series, I don't recommend watching this. It was torture just watching It was so torturous in ways that I didn't know I could be tortured. Like, it was just awful. After I stopped hating it and after I enjoyed it for like a movie itself, cinematically, even though CGI was pretty shitty, lightings, color schemes, different feelings and emotions, optical color schemes were used a lot. The Fire Nation giving off a warm color scheme, and then the Water Tribe and the Water Nation giving off like a cooler. It was. I won't get into the artistic aspects because we could be here all day. So, stay healthy, my friends. I hope you all are doing well, and I hope you all are staying healthy. And I hope to see you all in the next one.